Hello, I'm Dr. Paul Dyer. Welcome to Weekly Wednesday. I'll just let you know that I will still be continuing to do my podcast, and then Bridges Live, I will still be doing the podcast, but it just won't be on air. So, again, I hope you enjoy this podcast, and I want to talk to you about transitioning, because transitioning is what we can result that we're going through, and we can understand what that means. We know that it means turning over or exchanging to transition or to translate. There's an exchange. We have an understanding that meaning of the podcast I talk about is through my own personal experiences and what I am, have, or will navigate or been through myself. It's tough to talk about something I will navigate through because I can only talk about how I am right now. And in the practice, it's only what you are right now, and each step you can take that will help you transition into something that you can travel with. So we say prepare always, if not for preparation, but always doing the practice and the training. And as you're practicing and training, you're able to travel. And if you're able to travel, you're able to transition. So, when we talk about the transitioning, we have some concentrated fears. Fear from our experiences, fear from our expectations, fear from what the environment can cause or has caused, or in most cases, most people hear about a cause. And I don't know what that means when someone says, have you been there? And you're like, no. And they'll say, like, have you been to this place in Brooklyn or the Bronx? Like, oh, I wouldn't go there because that's happened. Or I would go here because that's happened. So I don't know what that falls into as far as environment. I don't even know if that's experience. And I definitely don't call that education. Because when someone's giving you their plight or their discouragement or even encouragement, I'm not sure if that's educational. So, but when I'm doing the podcast, my idea of it to talk about the things, and I'll continue to talk about transitioning, is to have some type of dialogue, communication. Because I'm having it with myself, and I hope you get to have it with yourself. And then if you get to have it with yourself and you say, hey, Dr. Paul, I thought about this in transition. Or I thought about this as I went through a transition. And it was similar, it was different, or it was completely different. There's somewhat what you call man's heart and mind. And when you hear me say man, just hope you know I'm talking about the human kind. We have this separation, and we've talked about this before. The entire universe is embodied by the concentration of connection to all existing things. So if all that is happening all the time, and we are able to connect to that, then why do we as human beings have a tough time transitioning from one place to the other? Are we so interwoven into our ego mind that we believe that what we can do, could do, are able to do should just be roses? It's bullshit. It's not true. It's a myth. Your attempts are not failures. Someone had said to me, just because you're not succeeding in what you are doing doesn't mean you're failing. As I hope you concentrate on the different things. So it's kind of like practicing the meditation or practicing the ideas of healing oneself from wounded life, the freedom of flowers that grow. We're always creating, developing, and growing, and then doing. The action is doing. And transition is a doing. Among any systems in education, by means of the human beings of themselves, we first must be able to desire to change our own personal responsibilities and to take responsibility of our actions. Our actions are not always directed outward, but they're mostly directed inward. And as you practice, you just got to understand, if you're directing things inward, you're self-sabotaging. I have personally self-sabotaged. I have self-sabotaged for a long time, but then I have to say, whoa, wait a minute. I am trying to destroy my own personal self. This is about liberation. And if you can liberate yourself, you can transition. If you can transition, then you can create. And if you go back to the things that can stop you, your own personal environment, your own personal experience, your own personal expectations, that would do very little for you. But you must have faith. You must believe. You must love. And the love starts with yourself. Let one establish self-love in a proper state. You can transition into anything. You can then deliver your promise, your rainbow. God's rainbow is a promise. But you can deliver your promise of all heavenly glory. And that is the purpose of transitioning, is to go to the next. Falling in love again, falling out of love, developing love, developing a new relationship, an old relationship, creating, healing a damaged relationship. Those are transitions. And the only thing that can keep you from those transitions is ego. The effectiveness of ego creates such turmoil that you then only self-sabotage. So let's get to, how do we transition? Or how can we transition? And is there a smooth transition? I think if we're going to look at the word smooth and being smooth, then I think you're going to have trouble finding a way around right and wrong. But I don't think transition has anything to do with right or wrong. It just happens to be with what you have created, starting with your internal self to external action. Observe the noise that you have created for yourself, and that has become the distraction. Because when you start arguing with the noise, you become the fool. And the fool will always run the kingdom. To be the king that you so deserve to be, or the queen that you so deserve to be, in your realm, right? In your realm, then you must observe your kingdom that lies within. The gift that you are, the promise that you have created, the gift you can give. There are two things that indicate our weakness: to be silent when it's proper to speak, and to speak when it's able to be silent. So I hope this podcast helps you out in transitioning. I'm going to be talking more about this because it's just something that's been coming up a lot in my life personally. And so as I actually go through it, I want to help us talk about it. I'm Dr. Paul. Always reach me at drpaulholisticscience.com. And then you can always comment on me there on the podcast. I wish you all many blessings in your transitions and your creative life.